Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chicago. So for those of you that I just met a little while ago at the new employee or the new associate first-time rally, I look forward to spending some time with you over the next couple of days and building a relationship. And for those of you that I know and have known for the last few years, I look forward to having a few laughs over the next couple of days. Over the last year or so, I've taken the opportunity to spend a considerable amount of time thinking about life, sort of different dynamics, what makes it tick, both mine and others, sort of along the lines of discovering the difference. Where's DeMarso? I promised him I would say that once during this presentation to you today. So I checked that off my list. One of the reasons that I took the time, one of the reasons that I found the need to take the time was because I've had a challenging past 12 months, both personally and professionally. At Sage, I experienced a string of challenges, obstacles, and mistakes that I'm currently working through. And personally, I had some very deep-rooted, complicated family dynamics back east that kind of came to a head last fall that I am still from resolve, but working through as well. And unfortunately, over the last several months, some people that were very close to me in life met with death, some peacefully, some through tragedy. So I think because of a combination of all those circumstances, it really got me thinking. It got me thinking in a way that I'd never done before. Now, no one ever said life was easy. We all know that. Life can be merciless, equally for all of us, and there's no room in self-pity for life. But I'm not here to talk about what drags us down in life. I'm here to talk to you guys today about something that I personally find both exciting and intriguing. You see, for me, a lot of things in life have come pretty easily. In some instances, effortlessly, particularly within my professional career. High levels of natural clarity and comfort. And I used to take that for granted. For most of my life, up until now, people have told me personally a variation of what is, it's kind of a common theme. It goes something like this. Karpinski, you've got really great vision. You've got broad perspective. You can see things down a path or down a road that others can't see or they can't understand. You have great taste. You have a head on your shoulders that's a little bit beyond your years. You've got a really good sixth sense. People ask me often how and why that is. And I actually have a hard time articulating to them an answer. It actually makes me uncomfortable to talk about. And I've come to realize the reason it makes me uncomfortable is because I know there is absolutely nothing special about me. I'm no different or better than anyone in this room. In fact, I bet anyone in this room has similar moments. So I set forth several months ago on a journey to figure it all out. What it all means to me and has meant to my life so far. Discovering the difference twice. I think I have. I think I figured it out, at least for me personally, and I think I can translate some thoughts to you guys today as well. I call it the seventh sense, becoming conscious of your unconscious. It's what I want to talk to you about today. And I want you to be able to leave today knowing what it means, how it can help you, what I believe can help you find success and happiness in your life. I've distilled it down into 3 simple concepts. That's it, 3 simple concepts. The first concept I have for you today, sort of as a building block to becoming conscious of your unconscious, is understanding the only thing smarter than you in this universe, the only thing smarter than you in this universe is your gut. Everything around you is simply a product of people that are not nearly as smart as your gut, your intuition. The difference between them and you is that they've acted on it, they've capitalized on it, either through their own personal self-fulfillment, through wealth creation, or through both. Now, I know at first pass that can sound like a little bit of a lofty idea. It's counterintuitive to what most of us are told throughout our entire lives. I'm going to tell you why this is the case today. This is true because your gut, your intuition, your inner voice, some people would refer to it as your sixth sense. You guys all know the feeling I'm talking about. It's a very real thing. It's not irrational like you've been taught. It's actually a very, very rational thing, and it's a good thing. By show of hands, how many of you have kids or were a kid at some point in your life? Right? It's all of us. I have 2 kids. I have a beautiful 6-year-old girl, and as my wife would say, a very guapo 4-year-old boy. And those kids amaze me. I watch them. I listen to them. I see the different things that they do. And they just amaze me. The statements that they make, the questions that they ask. I sometimes find myself thinking that these kids, they got a better head on their shoulders than I do. But they don't. They just come across that way because, to adults, to us, because life hasn't suppressed that sense of unfiltered innocence yet. It hasn't taught them yet to be skeptical or guarded in how they should think and how they should behave. In our modern day society, a generally accepted thought process is sort of a combination of what I'm going to say are 2 things. One is that we're going to call it our intelligence quotient, and once we're going to call it our emotional quotient. One is referred to your head, aka your brain, and one of them is referred to your chest, aka your heart. You guys know what I'm talking about. You hear people say, come on, think. What is your brain telling you? What's logical? What makes sense based upon everything you've been taught? Or other people will say, come on, what does your heart tell you? What do your emotions feel like? What does that say to you? People are often referred to as people that think with their head, their brain, or they think with their heart, right? So today I'd like to fold in a third in what I believe to be an equally important layer called the gut quotient. That quick instance, right? It's that quick instance you have, that sharp feeling in the bottom of your stomach. It's a flash of an image or an outcome. It's right in front of your face. It happens so fast. You have to recognize it when it happens, but it's very real. It's very powerful. It happens to me a lot. I recognize it. I think it happens to everyone in this room as much as it happens to me. It's a matter of recognizing it. I think all 3 should balance each other out, but I think your gut quotient should play an equal role in that trifecta, and it should have a full seat at the table as far as your decision-making processes go. If you think about it, one of the reasons kids behave the way they do is they're more driven by their gut quotient by anything else at that stage in their lives. They haven't built up an intelligence or an emotional database because they haven't had enough life experiences. They don't have a repetition of experiences that have any kind of bandwidth built around it. They go with their gut. Life hasn't beaten that out of them yet, and it's often amazing what the results are. A few years ago, one of our best chefs, he's been with us for a long time, he's one of our best and brightest. He was working on some new menu items. He was working on pad thai. We're going to put it on the menu. This chef, he's learned at the best schools, he's worked in the country's best restaurants, he's studied under some of America's master chefs. And he brought out the dish. There was a few of us sitting at the table, and he put it down in front of us, and he was really happy with his dish, and he told us everything that he put into it and why it was so great, and everyone in the group tried it, and they tasted it, and for the most part, everyone in the group nodded in opinion that it was good pad thai. When I tasted it, I had that quick feeling at the bottom of my stomach, my gut. My intuition was telling me that it was not very good. It wasn't what we wanted to put in front of our consumers, and it wasn't excellence. My brain is telling me, hey, He's the expert. I'm sure he followed a recipe. This guy's probably made pad thai's made it more times than I've eaten it in restaurants, right? My heart was telling me that, hey, he's a young chef with pride and ego. Since everyone in the group was nodding it with opinion, and they're all saying, hey, this is pretty good, to go with the flow. But my gut, my inner voice told me otherwise. And when we went around the table to talk about all the attributes of that dish, I told the group that there was room for improvement, that we could do better. I asked that chef to go back to the drawing board. End of conversation. Now, I didn't say that to him maliciously or negatively. He and I have a very good, long, built-up relationship with one another. He knew exactly what I was talking about. But what we did over the next couple weeks was we went to several restaurants together, Vietnamese and Thai restaurants. We tasted a whole bunch of different pad thais. We decided what was best for all of them. We decided what was best for ourselves. We worked on it. We ended up putting a pad thai in that menu that went on then to win awards and was written about in magazines and newspapers. So go ahead, debunk the idea of the sixth sense in your head as an irrational driver in your life. Be aware of it. Don't try to shake it out of your head. Don't try to pump it out of your heart. Latch onto it. Act on it. Have that in your life. It won't let you down. The second concept I have for you today is what I call the intersection between love and greatness, where those two ideas come together. This is finding the intersection of two questions. What do you truly love doing? And not only what are you naturally good at, but what do you think you could be truly great at? I think where most people fail in life is when they miss this intersection of love and greatness. Let me give you a couple examples about what I mean. I love music. I've loved music my whole life. I listen to every kind of music. I'm not the kind of person that just listens to one genre. I love jazz and contemporary and classic and hip-hop and rap. You name it, I love music. I always have, and it's a big part of my life. So when I was a kid, I said, hey, I want to be a musician. My parents, they went out and bought me a saxophone. I played that saxophone for years. I took lessons. I was in the school band. I practiced on my own constantly. And you know what? After all that time, I was terrible at it. I was about as bad at playing the saxophone after playing it for 7 or 8 years as I was probably in that very first year. Looking back on it, I actually wish I had the self-awareness to come to that conclusion sooner. But, you know, in spite of all my hard work, right, I loved it. I loved it. I love music. And man, if I could be a professional saxophone player, it'd be awesome. But I was not, forget about being great at it. I wasn't even naturally good at it in the first place. So I missed the intersection, right? All right, I got another example. Since we're in Chicago, Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan was one of the best basketball players to ever live, right? And in basketball, he found that intersection between love and greatness, right? But what happened to Michael Jordan when he decided to leave basketball to play semi-professional baseball, right? Was he successful? Not very, right? Why? Why wasn't he successful? Here's Michael Jordan. He's a guy. He's like there are other countries where he was almost thought of as like a deity. He's one of the most gifted, natural athletes to ever live. I mean, he had all the skills to become a professional baseball player. He wasn't successful at it because he wasn't truly doing something that he loved. He was doing it for the wrong reasons, and he missed the intersection. I have another example. There's a company, it's called Icon 4x4. Where's Chris Conforti? Is he here? I sent him the link once. He knows what I'm talking about. ICON. Go Google that company, read about them, learn what they're doing. Basically, these guys are they're a company. It's an auto manufacturing company in southern Los Angeles, and they make these handcrafted trucks. And they make these old Toyota FJ40s, and they're now making Ford Broncos. And they're marrying classic design and style with modern technology and improvements. And if you think of this idea, the intersection between love and greatness, these guys haven't just found the intersection, they are right in the middle of the bullseye. Every single person working for this company is right in the middle of that bullseye. These trucks that they're making cost, the base truck is $150,000 and it goes up from there. And this currently, if you want to be a new customer, there's a several-year waiting list to get one of these trucks. These guys have found the intersection. Now, success with this intersection between love and greatness can only exist if you have the right people, the right environment, and support around you to become great at what you're doing. It has to be the right timing with everything else going on in your life, and it has to take a lot of hard work and perseverance. All those things are important, and it takes all those things. But the way I look at it, and we've all heard this before, we're going to spend more time in our adult lives working in our jobs than doing anything else. So why would you want anything less out of life than doing both what truly makes you happy as well as doing what you believe to be as great work? Be conscious of that. My third and final idea and concept is to become nonlinear about life and to find what I call third outcomes. You see, most people will tell you that life is supposed to be this straight line of sorts. It's supposed to be fairly black and white. It's supposed to be set up in a way that as you travel along this line, things will be, for the most part, nice and steady. Things will be predictable. There are rules and common acceptances along this line that are set up to keep everyone on check and on an even keel. And I think, for the most part, those rules in this straight line should be challenged. Surprise, surprise. Think about the third outcome as a wavy line. It crosses everyone else's straight line they're taking in life. Think about it like if everyone is doing something a certain way, then maybe a different approach will lead you down a different path with better outcomes. When I got to college, I found out about this scholarship. It was called the R.C. Koff Scholarship. It's basically this scholarship that they give to a graduating senior at Cornell who's a food and beverage major. And what it is, it's this all-expense paid around-the-world trip. You go to all the best wineries, all the best chateaus, and you go to cities all around the world. It's not only just all expense paid, but there's really no credit limit. And what they tell you to do is just go there. Money is no object. All we want you to do is we want you to have the time of your life. As a 22-year-old, think about that. Right? So when I got to school, I knew that I wanted that scholarship. I knew I wanted that scholarship the moment I got there. I also knew that I was going to be up against some very stiff competition. I didn't have the best grades. I didn't necessarily have any real hospitality background or work experience. And, this may not surprise some of you, I was definitely not going to spend the next 3 years kissing the asses of the professors who were on the selection committee. So what did I do? Now that I look back on it, I started looking for third outcomes. I started behaving in a way that allowed me to be conscious of my unconscious. I went out and found a winery. It was about an hour drive from school. I just drove out there one day. I met the owner, the winemaker, and I said, hey, listen, I just want to work for you. I don't care if you pay me. If you pay me, great. But I just want to learn everything there is to know about the wine business. I want to know everything there is to know about winemaking. During summer and winter breaks, I worked in the kitchens of some of the best restaurants in the country. I worked for Danielle Belluni in New York City. I drove there and I stayed in I slept on the floor of my sister's apartment, which was in New York, so it was like the size of a closet. So I was basically sleeping on the floor of this hallway in what was a closet. I worked for Charlie Trotter's here in Chicago, Trotter's. Lived with a friend's house about 45 minutes away. And I went and I drove down to Dallas, Texas, and I worked for Dean Faring at the mansion on Turtle Creek. And before I went to Texas, I didn't even really have a definitive yes from these guys. I called, I said, can I work? I want to come down, please let me. And I thought they said yes, and I drove all the way to Texas. When I got there, there was really nothing they could say. They took me in, and I worked there for a while. When I got back to school, I signed up to be the executive chef of a thing it's called Hoteliers at Cornell. Basically, at Cornell, there's this thing where the students take over the school for an entire weekend. They bring industry executives from around the world, and they just wine and dine them. They run the hotel, they run the restaurants, they run everything. So I was the executive chef for that. And another thing I did when I was at school is I signed up, and I was in a culinary competition. It was at the New York Hotel and Restaurant Show. It was deboning a chicken. Don't ask. I never deboned a chicken in my life. You would have been amazed when I walked into my professor's room with like 3 or 4 cases of chicken, raw chicken, and said, you got to help me learn how to debone these things. Thought I was crazy. And you know what? When I was in that competition deboning chicken, I got absolutely crushed. I came so far in last place that they were turning the lights off and they're sweeping the floor before I was done deboning that damn chicken, right? But that's not the point. The point was that I was on this swervy line. And I was on this swervy line without even understanding what all that meant to me at the time. And I was looking for third outcomes. I won that scholarship, and I went on the trip of a lifetime. I've also tried to find the third outcome in other endeavors, and I've failed miserably. But the interesting thing that I've found, and this is the key idea to the third outcome, is that what seemed like failures at the time were actually just preparing me for something bigger and better than that specific incident. And that's the beauty of understanding this. You can free yourself from the weight of the goals and the responsibilities that you're going to find on the straight line in life. And you can be okay with being less sure about things. You can be okay with just letting things go easier than what you're probably used to or what is normal to you. Letting things go like that has allowed me to break away from the straight line. And it's allowed me to make mistakes, and it's allowed me to fail. Making mistakes and failure are some of the most important times of your life, as long as you're willing to accept them as learning opportunities, and you're willing to evolve and change as a person through those experiences to be truer to yourself. You will be a better person. I can promise you that the only thing that you might lose a little bit of on this path is a little bit of pride and ego. And that's never hurt anyone before. Now, this idea as well, a little esoteric, it's hard to see and understand until it all happens, right? As it is in life. Until you have history to look back on to see how it all came together. You have to trust that this idea is going to land you in a good place. You have to have a strong moral compass. And you have to have faith in yourself that good things are going to happen to you. So I want to challenge y'all to get off that straight line in life and looking for third outcomes. Don't waste your time living someone else's life. Don't live life based upon the results of other people's thinking. Don't let other people's agenda interfere or get in the way of you finding the intersection between love and greatness. And don't let anyone, including yourself, discount your gut. If you gave me $1 for every time in my life someone said to me, you're too young, you're too inexperienced, you're not up to it, you still have a lot to learn, I'd be sitting at my retirement home in Kauai with all the money I would have made by now. I think all those people are either on the straight line in life or they want you to stay on that line. I think life is too short for that. There is so much more to life than that. If any of you have seen my desk at work, some of you that work at the global office and some of you that visit or in town, you know that I have a fairly minimalistic and Spartan space. It's for a couple reasons. One is because I just think better when I don't have a lot of clutter around me. And 2 is because I just really don't need much. Besides 2 small pictures of my family, I have a couple quotes taped to my computer screen. One of them is a quote from Henry David Thoreau, is told to him by his grandmother. And it poetically says, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined." I really love those few simple words, and I think it poignantly sums up what I wish for others. I think anyone in this room, if you choose, can take a journey in life that will allow you to go confidently in your dreams and will let you live the life you've always imagined. If you are willing to understand the seventh sense and become conscious of your unconscious, you will have the tools that you need to prepare you for that journey. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. Thank you.